Hello everyone, welcome to Mind Maps. In the last video, we were discussing about some of the items or substances that we have seen and we use in our daily life. They relate to our senses and taste and smell and vision and whatnot, and they were all related to colloids. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the historical background of colloids. It isn't much, I'm not introducing all of it, just a few bits and pieces. And the next thing, we will be defining what colloids actually are. So, we had a scientist, Thomas Graham, that you saw in the previous slide. Is from 1861 and he must be dead by now if you go by the trend. So, what he says, he found sugar, urea, sodium chloride pass through a semi-permeable membrane. Is talking about a solution of sugar, urea, and sodium chloride, and when he passed it through a semi-permeable membrane, it could pass through. But there were substances like glue, gelatin, and gum that did not. So, the former type of substances or solutions, he called them crystalloids, and the latter he called colloids. So, what inference he got from that? Graham thought that the difference in behavior of crystalloids and colloids was due to particle size. So when you filter something, the substance that has a larger size stays on the filter paper and everything that's smaller comes down, just like a sieve. And then later it was realized that any substance, regardless of its nature, could be converted into a colloid by subdividing into particles of colloidal size. Okay, when we have particles of larger size, we can break them to something of colloidal size. And when we have particles smaller, we can form an aggregate that is of the dimension of colloids. Okay, so the word colloid comes from a Greek word kolla, which means glue. Thus, colloidal particles are glue-like substances. They are sticky. Okay, these particles can pass through a filter paper, but not through a semi-permeable membrane. Okay, what does that mean? Filter paper has larger pores, a large pore size, while a semi-permeable membrane does not. So these particles pass through the filter paper but not through a semi-permeable membrane. So what we infer from this definition is that mm, firstly they're sticky, and secondly they have a particular size that we will be discussing in the next slide. So how do we make a colloid? When you prepare sugar solution, you add sugar to water. Sugar is a solute and the solvent is water. Similarly, we can prepare colloids, or we can say that colloid has two parts, a dispersed phase and a dispersion medium. Okay, a colloidal system consists of two phases, a dispersed phase that is discontinuous in nature, okay, and a dispersion medium that is continuous in nature. You can say the dispersed phase surrounded by the dispersion medium, much like a solvent and solute, but we call them dispersion medium and dispersed phase. So when we talk about dispersed phase particles have a diameter of 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer. You have to remember this particle size because it's very important. And Such particles are normally invisible, but their presence can be confirmed with the use of an ultramicroscope or an electron microscope. So that was all for today's lecture. Hope you enjoyed. Do like, subscribe, and let's meet again in the next video. Thanks.